tell me what to make. I don't care about your take. It's my channel, and I do what I want. Wah!
All right.
One of us or
We're
one of
live.
the
No.
We're live?
You're trying to rage
We're
bait
live.
your own viewers.
Oh my gosh. This is why I was with the intro video, so that way you don't get Matt's rage baiting. Just kidding. Welcome back. Oh my gosh. And also to everybody, Josh is rocking out the awesome Christmas sweater. So this will probably be one of our last ones. I think our last one probably. No, it will be
Last video
before Christmas. So Merry Christmas to everybody if you don't hear from us before then, as well as Happy New Year, of course. But welcome. This is Hobby Vomit. We're all back in force to talk about the recent novella that we just read. Recent for us, not recent for the world, but that is The Lesser Devil, which is a novella in the Sun Eater series. This is kind of quote unquote the 1.5 of Sun Eater. So this will be between the first two books. And so we're pretty excited. But as always, welcome. And let's go ahead and start getting into it. So I'm Ian. Oh, I don't know the direction we going clockwise. Kind of clockwise. Okay. Josh.
Yeah, I'm on the far right on my screen. So.
Everybody knows who Josh is.
Everybody do the next person. That's what we'll do.
Right.
Yeah, we're consistent.
Los?
Yeah, we'll all be in this order forevermore for all here. Matt.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so we will eventually get that down. So, that's really why people are showing up. They just want to know how long it's going to take us to get the intro down. Spoiler alert is forever. So just you got to keep coming back. But yeah, so today's gonna be kind of interesting, a little bit different, but also the same. So we're gonna be doing what I like to call cringe alert, baby barf. So the novella is roughly about the same size as a single part from a standard sci-fi or fantasy. I think because most of us listen to it. Matt, did you say it was about 170 pages?
170 pages. Yep.
Yep. So normally we would go through a book, we would go part by part, but this one is essentially the same size. So we're actually just doing the whole thing in one video alongside our typical BARF review. So if the novellas are around the same length, it was about 5.5 hours on Audible, or again, about 170 pages. This is probably what we'll do. We'll just probably do a single video, kind of going through it, discussing it, and with our BARF review. Now we'll do our best. We'll keep the BARF review fairly spoiler free, like I said, as best as we can, but then we will quickly get into a full discussion on it. So for those of you who have read it, then hopefully you're really excited for our review and for us to get to talk about it, and we're excited to hear what you have to say as well. And for those that just kind of want to know, is it a novella worth reading? Because I imagine there might be some people who have just read Empire Silence, or maybe some people who haven't read the novellas. Then you'll kind of get a quick intro to why we think you may or may not want to read it and how we felt about it overall. But yeah. So all in all, I'm just excited to be back with everybody.
Yeah.
Getting to talk about books.
It's cool. Yeah, it's going to be nice we can talk about it, a complete thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Matt, do you have anything else that we should add, or should I go ahead and explain the BARF system real quick?
No, yeah. Let's get into it.
Okay. So for those of you who have not checked out our other reviews, we'd like to do a BARF review in thematic fashion with the name of the channel after every book, or novella in this case. So we got 4 different categories, and then we're going to do a score and sell at the end where we average out those 4 categories. Each of the 4 categories, BARF, are rated on a scale of 1 to 5. And so B is going to be believable. This is how believable we think the characters are. Do they make sense for the particular setting and story? How well developed are they? And then we're going to go into A, which is authorial voice. So we're going to be specifically looking at the author's goals, the author's prose, and their general world building. Do we feel like they have contributed to the series? Do we feel like they've built something for us? Do we feel like there's something appealing? Do we feel like they've accomplished their goals? R is going to be rhythm. So this is the pace, plot, structure. And so do we feel like the pacing was good? Is it in that Goldilocks zone? Was it too slow? Was it too fast? Was it confusing? And then F will be feelings. So what kind of impression or feelings did this leave us with, right? Did it help us to cry or feel joy or just feel those epic moments like, oh my gosh, that was so cool? Or was there some kind of other moral that it leaves us with or something like that? And so those are our 4 categories. We average those together to give our final score and sell, and then we kind of give an idea of why we think you might want to read this novella, or if we don't like it, why we think you shouldn't read the novella. Yeah.
Or rather, why it might not be for you. Maybe not
Okay.
why you shouldn't
Okay.
read it.
Yeah,
You might
yeah.
love
So,
it. Yeah, even if we don't like something, you might like it.
This is true. This is a very good point. There is Matt constantly reminds me there's subjective qualities to books. No, I'm just joking. It's definitely a better way to phrase it.
We'll tell you why this book sucks. You should burn it.
That could get
Just
so
the
bad
cover.
so fast.
Because the let's
Just because of the cover.
Okay,
We had about a
just-
20-minute
yeah.
discussion
Just
prior
the
to
cover.
recording.
Just the
Oh, it
cover.
burned just
Keep
I
the book,
see.
burn the cover.
We should start up a business where we just sell books without their covers in all cases where we don't like the cover.
There you go.
No, I don't think that'll work out. No business will have failed faster than that one.
No binding either, actually.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that's the way we should do it. Subscription model, you get 1 page a month. Yeah. I think it'll work out.
Just do it like a print and play.
Honestly, though, okay, wait. There's like crocheting subscriptions, a bookbinding subscription where like we'll send you all the pages and the glue and you can bind it yourself. I bet people would do it because I see a lot of binding videos on the internet and it looks it kind of looks really cool.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Kelsey's
listening
working
to
on
me.
it right now.
Gosh.
Someone's gonna take off with that idea.
Cool.
That's a
Mhm.
billion, at least $1 billion idea right there, at least.
Whoa.
Okay. Yeah, we'll call it Vomit Bindings. Is that what we're gonna call it?
There you go. That's the glue.
File bindings.
There you go.
File. There we go. Oh, there we
There
go.
you go.
We're cooking now.
Yeah.
Okay. So as we go through each category, we're gonna remind everybody in the group, we're gonna basically snake it like we did the last time. So we'll kind of go through all of our different things we want to say on each of the categories, kind of snaking around. Does anybody want to kick us off with the good old B for believable?
Yeah, I can kick us
I,
off.
I was last time. I could go
Yeah,
first
yeah.
this time, and then we go
Ooh,
back.
there we go.
I was just
Love
gonna
it.
say
Okay, no.
we'll try and
So
keep
what's
it.
the order?
Yeah.
Try and
So
keep
it'll
it
be
pretty
me,
brief.
then Josh, then Ian, then Matt.
I want a good old Coliseum fight to determine who goes for B.
You can
I'm just
have it.
kidding. Lowe's wins.
Yeah, since we are doing
So-
the discussion as well, but
Yeah.
we'll try and keep these brief.
Yeah,
Yep.
these are very brief. Yeah.
Kick
So
us
believable.
off.
How believable are the characters in their setting? For me, I thought this was. I know I said this in the last review, a breath of fresh air from always getting Hadrian's view, and seeing this point of view, it really was refreshing. And I want to preface this by saying that I did not read the physical copy. I have an Audible copy, so it was I only heard it. So I hear there are some mistakes in the physical copy, so that might have affected other people's points of view. But for me, I thought the characters were pretty believable. So I'm going to give this one a 3.
Or are we going the other way?
Wait, me?
Yeah.
Go, Jossie. Go.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was Los, me, Ian, Matt, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. Yeah, you're just gonna hear high praise from me overall. So I really loved this book. Los, you said it best. It was a breath of fresh air in the sense that it got me hyped on the series. So I went high. I was a 4.5 on this.
Nice.
Okay. I thought the characters were fairly believable. The book did introduce us to some new characters. It has also introduced us to some familiar characters. I like as a novella. I think it accomplished some things that a novella should go for. However, I think there were some things I felt like were pretty glaring. So overall, I'll give this a 3.
Nice. I think I gave this a slightly higher score than I did Empire of Silence. I thought the character work was maybe just a smidge stronger. So I gave this a 3.5. Okay, going into authorial voice. I like a lot of the points here. I think that this book did some things a lot better than Empire of Silence, some things worse than Empire of Silence, and some things just different. This one I think was just different. I liked the different point of view. The third person narrative I thought was really great. I thought he wrote it really well, but I thought the prose was really a lot more lacking. It wasn't as pretty, beautiful sentences or anything. I thought it was lacking. That was a lot more just straightforward. So I gave this just a flat 3.5.
Yeah, so this one's a little bit tricky for me. So this might be one of the lowest scores I've ever given. I gave this one a 2.8. So I like to do the 0.2 granularities. I know I'm the oddball out. But I give this one a 2.8. I think it's one of the lowest scores I've given. I think there's a couple different ways to look at this though, and I think it definitely could merit a higher score. However, at least for this review, I'm looking at this in the context of the fact that even though it's a novella, it's in a series. So it's like, book 1.5. If this was just like a novella that was just sort of written as an offshoot of like an unknown world, I think we could rate it higher. But one of the things I think kind of influenced my score was the fact that as a novella in the Sun Eater series, this isn't really developing anything new for us. And so I didn't mind the prose, and I thought I think as a novella it accomplished some goals that are important for a novella, but I just don't feel like it really added anything to the series as a whole. So
Back to me.
Mhm.
Again, I'm high on it. I just took it from the standpoint that just like in book one, we're hearing everything from Hadrian's perspective, and kind of the prose matched his like language expertise and his personality. I felt this one matched Crispin's personality from what was kind of like unveiled to us. Obviously, we didn't know a ton about him from book one, but I don't know. I just felt, yeah, I felt really great listening to it. I didn't listen, or I didn't follow along in the book for everything, so that might be some of the impact of it. I don't know. I didn't really think about that too much till you guys mentioned it, so it's making me reflect a little bit. But there were a couple of things that I thought were odd choices in the prose. So this is not a spoiler, but like one of the sentences being, I didn't write it down, so I feel silly trying to quote it, but it was something like a quarter of a minute. It was just something like that. Like, why not just say 15-second? I don't know. Just like little things like that that I thought were odd choices. I didn't really understand what point we were trying to make. There was like maybe like 2 to 4 of those that happened in the book that I didn't really understand. It just felt like the classic internet meme of like, I got to get my essay to 500 words. So how can I sneak in a few extra words? So I had a couple gripes with that, but obviously I rated it high. So I had a great time with it overall.
Nice.
Did I say my rating? 4? Yeah.
Yeah. I am echoing everything that Josh said. Josh said exactly what I wanted to say. I thought that being from Crispin's point of view, it kind of matched his style, and seeing things from that point of view really opened up the world to me. And I do agree with what Ian said about didn't really add anything to the overall main plot of the series, but I do think that it added a lot to the world building, and it being kind of like a novella 1.5. I saw it as a big big buff to the world itself. So I too am going to give it a 4.
Nice. I'd also real
And
quick just want to argue that
yeah.
that I do think while it didn't add like any world building stuff, I do think it added something really important, which was perspective. Into
Yeah.
I think that's to me, like when I looked at like what this book set out to do, I don't think it was to expand the world, but so much to provide perspective into both Hadrian and Crispin. So I think I don't know, it kind of feels like the point of a novella. It's more of like a side tangent. But I did find that to be like an important thing that it did add, rather than just like a
Yeah.
new thing.
I do agree. I want to go deeper, but not in this section, so I'll hold my tongue. I will do rhythm next. So how was the pacing plot structure? So that for me is going to be probably a 3 as well, as believable to me. So I like the pacing in this one. Things happened fast, but I think in such a short book that doesn't add stuff to the main plot, I liked the pacing for what I believed this book was meant to do. So I thought it was meant to add a perspective, like Matt said, and uh, more more world building. So I liked the pacing and I guess the main points of this book.
Okay.
I was high on this again. I think this just hit all the right things for me. I may not be able to explain it very well, but again, there's nothing wrong with like a slower pace, and I'm not saying that's why I'm rating this high because it was a little bit of a faster pace. It just, I don't know, it just everything just worked for me from chapter to chapter, from event to event, and so I gave it a 4.5.
Nice. So I gave it a 3.6 for rhythm. I think that with it being so short, I think it's really important that it has a faster pacing because we just don't have the page count or the time to really spend like doing a slow burn. And I recognize that that's also going to mean that there's certain concessions. Like sometimes things are just going to have to happen quicker than they normally would. So overall, I felt like the pacing was really good, and it was very easy to follow. I think that there were some things that just maybe didn't hit as well as I would have liked, but overall, I think this is one of those where, especially since it's like 5.5 hours on Audible, I think it's a pretty easy one for people to fit in, and it'll keep you in. I think it'll keep you relatively engaged. You won't be just bored ready to like go do something else because it's so slow. It has a very good fast pace throughout the entire thing.
Nice. Yeah, I'm at 3.5 for this as well. Thought the pacing was really good. It felt like a side quest, maybe a little cookie cutter. I think as far as the plot, I think that's what really knocked it down for me. If I had to, I don't know where we're adding like. I took some problems with some of the like theming and content of the plot. That also knocked it down for me a little bit. But I think the pacing was stronger than Empire of Silence for sure. It was definitely engaging the entire way through. So yeah, 3.5. And then feeling 3.5 across the board for me. So yeah, a little stronger than Empire of Silence as far as like I think I'll remember this. I think it opens really strong. It's a really memorable opening, and just that first moment of getting the new perspective was kind of pretty like memorable for me. And there's some emotional parts. I wouldn't say they're super emotional, but they're there. So 3.5.
Yeah, and I gave this one a 3.6. Not because I think that there were these moments that are gonna bring you to tears, or these moments that are gonna like bring you like tons of joy or things like that. But I felt like as I went through the story, I really liked the overall arc that the character was following. And I think that it gave us a lot more insight into the Marlowe family, kind of as Matt had mentioned. And so I was just overall pretty impressed with the direction the characters took. And I really like how they ended up. And I kind of mentioned this to Matt beforehand, so apologies for the early chit chat. But this was one of the ones where I felt like now I would be much happier if we saw these characters in the future than I was right at the end of book one. Like now I'm kind of like interested to see these characters again. And so I gave it a 3.6.
Nice.
Nice. I gave feeling a 4. Yeah, I agree with you guys. There's not anything like tear jerking or anything like that, but I had some really strong reactions to yeah, I'm trying to make sure not to spoil anything, but just reflections on some of the characters and their relationships and things like that. So I'm excited to kind of talk about that a little bit more. But I think those were some of the more impactful things from the book, and just getting it from a different person's perspective, and it got me hyped on Hadrian a lot more. And I found myself being like, okay, like I'm really excited to go back to Hadrian and kind of see where he's at, how he continues to progress, and things like that.
Nice.
Nice. Mine's short and sweet. I echo what everybody else is saying, and I'm gonna bump up my scores a little bit because I feel like I've been lowballing them, but I'm gonna give feeling a 4.5 because I really did enjoy this book, and it's left me really hyped for listening to the next one. We'll see how that goes. So finally, we're going to tally everything up, give an average score, and then just let you know if we should. And I think you definitely should. This has really rekindled the fire I had in anticipation of reading the series. So at first I blew through the beginning of the first book, mainly to catch up to everybody else that was here, that was listening to it, because I really wanted to read this another book in this genre after reading Dune, and that this book really rekindled that fire. So I think averaging out everything after giving all the rest of the scores like a 0.5 bump, it's probably going to be a 4 for me across average of 4. So
Nice.
All right. Yeah. No one pay attention to actual math when I do my overall, but I landed at about a 4.25. So yeah, you heard I had high praise. I really enjoyed it. I think the word Los just used, rekindling, was the best word to use. I found myself after book one feeling like it was going to feel a little bit like homework to continue to go in the series. And now I feel excited and a lot more driven to find out how it continues and what happens.
Yeah, so my overall score averages out to about 3.25. I think that if you've read Empire Silence, which I assume that you have, and you'd like a sort of fresh take, I think this is a really great one to read. I haven't read number 2, Howling Dark, but I assume that a lot of the main books, which have Hadrian, are going to have the frame narrative. This is an opportunity for us to have a different perspective and a different writing style with this novella, which I really like to see, and I think it was handled very well, which was really cool. I'd liked to see that another character was developed, and so I think a lot of the Empire Silence focuses on Hadrian. This is an opportunity to see other characters get developed in really meaningful ways. Now, because we also haven't read further, I don't know if Crispin is going to appear in later books. After reading this, I feel like he has to, because this really, and this is the main thing I would say, is this really positions Crispin as a really great foil for Hadrian, and I think it's kind of a must read for that reason. You know, if you're going to continue on reading through the series, I think you definitely should read this one. I have read that some people have used this novella as a way to kind of give Christopher Ruocchio a second chance. I don't agree with that. I think that if you read Empire Silence and you are done with the series, then you probably should just be done. But if you're willing to read on to Howling Dark, you know that you're going to, I would definitely take a pit stop and read this one.
We'll talk more about that. I don't know if I agree with that,
Mhm.
but we'll speak more on that later. So I'm at 3.5 because I gave it to to no one's surprise. I think this was like a mostly positive. I call it like a sidestep over from Empire of Silence. I didn't really feel like it pushed me forward enough, mostly because I think everything that I thought this book did well comes with like baggage almost. So like the third person perspective. I think I liked it so much, and I wish that we had it in Empire of Silence, that I feel I'm going to miss it when we go back. Like I'm kind of dreading going back to the first person narrative of Hadrian, to where I almost wish like the whole series was like a third person POV jumping like a Game of Thrones or something. I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But like I think the pacing gets me excited for the future, but the plot I found was a step back. So there's just it almost felt just like a sideways step for me. But overall, like I think I enjoyed it a little bit more than Empire of Silence. 3.5 for me. And then like to echo what not Ian said, the other two boys here. I think you should read it if you've only read Empire of Silence and you're kind of like waffling on whether you want to continue, because I mean, like none of us have read Howling Dark, but it seems like, this is obviously published after and written afterwards. So you can kind of see some improvements from Ruocchio as a writer, that could get you excited to at least try Howling Dark. So yeah. So that's
Cool.
it. Those are spoiler-free BARF scores.
Yeah, and so now we're going to be going into kind of a longer discussion on our scores, what happened in the book. So certainly if you've read The Lesser Devil, we'd love for you to stick around and see what our takes are, and we'd love to hear your takes as well in the comment section. But if you've not read it, you need to pause this video for 5.5 hours, go read it, and then come on back. We'll still be here.
Well said.
Nice.
All right, so like Ian said, spoilers. We're going in.
Mhm.
But first, we gotta talk about the art.
It's
really
bad.
the art.
It's really bad.
That's all I can think
I
of.
just don't.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, if
I mean, the
anyone's-
Audible one isn't even any better though. Like it's
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
not.
better, but
it's just
it
different.
doesn't.
That one looks like Gladiator to me. The Audible. If anyone's watching this,
Yeah.
can you confirm?
I'm-
I think we kind of agreed it has to be Crispin.
Oh, I just looked in the book. Cover art by Peter Ruocchio. Must be a sibling or
Mhm.
some
Oh,
sort of.
true. Yep. There you
Okay,
go.
that makes a little more sense. Because I don't know if that looks like Crispin. I don't think I think like we were saying. I don't think this necessarily bad art altogether, but I don't think that's a good representation of Crispin. Like I kept waiting to be like, who is this guy? When's this guy gonna show up? And I was like, oh, I guess that's Crispin. Yeah, it's interesting for sure. But let's. Oh no, you said you just confirmed it is. But did it confirm that it's Crispin?
No, it just says cover art by.
Okay, it's probably Crispin. It has to be.
Yeah, but I wonder if it's titled, like the art is titled.
It's
Online
called
or something.
definitely Crispin.
Yeah, this is Crispin.
Believe me, Crispin. Yeah. So where do we want to? Do we want to?
I have a question to start,
Yeah. Do it.
if you don't mind.
No, don't mind.
What do you guys think about Sabine and the whole process of getting a sibling at a certain age? That's crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's totally believable, but I didn't think about, hey, they can just like age up these requests or whatever, right?
Well, what do you mean get a sibling at a certain age?
Yeah, I'm not following what you're saying. there.
Didn't like she's of a certain age, right?
Well,
Whatever.
yeah, because
time has
because
passed.
they requested another sibling like shortly after Hadrian was gone.
Right,
So-
and
then-
but she's
and then it's
closer in
now-
age. They're
Yeah,
close in age though.
Yeah, because it's now been like 20 years.
I think
But I
she's
think
still
they're.
like
I think
30 or
Sabine and
something,
Crispin
right?
are like 20 to
Yeah.
25 years apart from each
Yeah,
other.
Mhm.
he even
Oh,
says
are
that
they?
too. Yeah, he even says that
Okay,
too.
I
at one point, about how
misread.
weird it
I
is.
misread.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that they were similar age whenever they whenever she was first like came into the family. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah,
I got
I
yeah,
misread.
there's a little piece when he talks about it of how like there's this big age gap, but in terms of Palatine's, like it's such a
Yeah,
blip in terms of
It's
their
another
full
minuscule
lifespan.
percentage.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Never mind. Then I take it back, and it's
I-
it's
I
it's
I still think your
Sabine
question's good
sucks.
though, because like Sabine is a pretty interesting like character to insert into the storyline. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Well,
I
it
thought
raises another. Oh, good.
nothing, just short and sweet. Like really interesting new character. Interesting like it feels very political like by their father to like make that decision, right? Overall though, like I kind of felt like she was one of the least memorable characters in the book. There was a
Kinda
couple interesting
pants.
moments, but yeah, I didn't wasn't anything too exciting for me regarding Sabine.
She kind of, for me, was basically what Crispin was to Hadrian. It was like, wow, this is an interesting character. Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
in the first book.
we're not actually really spending that much time with her. It just was set up to make me think that we would.
Yeah.
So I definitely am curious to. At a certain point, I was like, okay, she's probably just gonna die here because she was introduced, for the plot of this novella. It seemed, but I'm glad she didn't. I'm interested to see more of her. But yeah, all in all, like the idea of her is way more interesting than her as a character because I don't. We never really got to know her.
Yeah, that was a good way to say it.
Yeah.
So I overall, this is one of the things that impacted my scores was that I really did wish. I love what they did with Crispin in this story. I really like what they did with Crispin, like what Christopher Ruocchio did with Crispin in the story. But I wish the story as novella had been a lot more focused on just the Marlowe family. And really wanted to develop more characters within the Marlowe family or some of the more the dynamics within the Marlowe family, because we get this novella and I think that it did a wonderful job with Crispin and introduced Sabine, and I like Sabine, but I would like to know more about Sabine. And it kind of just leaves Alistair the same, but like I mean, it seems like his relationship with Crispin is a lot better than his relationship was with Hadrian. So this would have been like a perfect opportunity to explore that further. It seems like they know that the mom helped Hadrian escape, or at least they suspect it. Like it seems like it's an opportunity to explore that further. There's like the introduction of the family dynamics around people potentially trying to kill them to subvert the family. So I'd really hope that they explore more of that. Because like, for example, the fact that Sabine's a girl, like, I mean, it raises all kinds of the questions for me. Like, do they get to know like if they're gonna have a boy or a girl like when they send in a request? You know, I mean, they do all this gene editing, like, you know, presumably they can have boy or girl whatever they want, right? So
Chromosomes, yeah.
yeah, so it's just like, is she a girl because they can't, or because the emperor turned the tables on him, or at least how he thought, or did they request a girl? You know, so that way it would be different or something like that. But I don't know. So I thought there was like an opportunity there to explore more of how that whole dynamic works. And I would have been really interested to learn more about that.
No, I completely agree. It leads to my next point as well. Alistair pulling aside his son and is gonna tell him a big secret out of the ears of the listening. And we all think, at least I thought for sure, oh, he's gonna tell him about his bro that he got the thing, because it's around that same time frame, right? That it was revealed. It was about, he said it was been about 30 years since he disappeared. So
Yep.
he could have easily told Crispin, I believe, about his brother. But he decided not to. Instead, told them about this potential plot and giving him a high matter sword.
Yeah. Which to me, I thought the opening was super strong, very like visual for me, like seeing them on like the, I don't know, tarmac. I'm just gonna call it tarmac, the landing area with like the rain coming down, but around their shield. Like it just felt very like almost like cyberpunk for me, like adjacent, but very visual, and it opened really strong with that whole flight, kind of in the way the Empire of Silence kind of gave that sense of like discovery when they left the planet. This gave the sense of like terror. I think their flight was pretty terrifying and not smooth ever, especially with that idea planted. You know, we get it planted to us. Crispin gets it planted to him immediately. So the whole flight is just. There's a lot of tension. I thought he nailed it. I think everywhere up until they reached the village was like, mwah, great.
Yep.
Yeah, I was hooked. Great opening for sure.
I'm gonna be keeping track of the number of what I'm gonna call bro matter swords that are introduced in this. Where somebody just pulled aside, and they're like, hey bro, I got something for you, okay? Here's this high matter sword.
Yeah. Perfect. I have a question real quick. I'm jumping way ahead because I read this out loud to Bree. We did our breeding, and
What?
Yeah, we call it breeding.
Pause.
Don't worry about it, buddy.
No, I guess pin real quick though. So Bree has read Empire of Silence, or you did read Empire of Silence with?
Yeah,
Bree?
we did it together.
Okay, cool.
We bred it. Did anyone else like? I had to go back and reread the end of the second to last chapter, because to me it set up like Crispin was going to show mercy and not kill Lyra or Natali, which he doesn't. But that's what that's kind of how he's just like, give up and I will let you go. And then the next chapter starts and her body's being carried out. And I was like, what? Her body's being carried out? That's so, like, I don't understand. Like, and then I was like, oh, they staged it. So, because he didn't want to admit to his dad but that's not what happened. She just killed herself. And, like, it's so quick and not very descriptive. I think it was really poorly done, in my opinion. So, Bree and I were like, wait, when did she kill herself? And I literally went back and reread that part 3 or 4 times out loud. I'm like, I guess this means that she did it. Like, I guess. It's just like
That's not what I got from it.
You immediately was just like, oh yeah, she killed herself.
No, I had a thought. My thought was that Crispin was going to let her try and finish him. Like, so he turned his back to her, and I thought that he's like, you still got that dagger? All right, I'm gonna give you this chance if you save the lives of the people on the ship. And so he turns his back, and he's like, this is like, she's either gonna try and kill me or do whatever. And I liked that the author didn't really say exactly what happened to her. So I thought, that's why Crispin is. I thought Crispin was actually injured in that, but I guess it didn't specify that in the future. So maybe he wasn't, and maybe it is like what you're saying is that she ended up using it on herself rather than using it on Crispin. But I always thought that Crispin was giving her. I mean, initially I thought that he was giving her a chance to actually stab him.
I guess I did. After we were done, I did look it up just because we weren't genuinely like confused as to what happened, and so it's literally because she's talking and like her voice goes up as she like cuts her wrist, I guess, and like that's the indication that she used the dagger to kill herself. Or I don't know if she cut her wrist or stabbed herself, but she kills herself with the dagger somehow.
Interesting.
Could have taken out her life-saving
or something, yeah.
stuff too.
But to me, I just found that like very poorly
like a
done.
letdown.
To where like we see, I was like, I don't want to keep reading yet because we're clearly missing something, and it's important because the whole setup was like him, not going to kill her, showing like
not
everything
like
he's
his dad.
learned. And I was like, what? But to me, it would have been badass if it was like, well, clearly you can't just tell your dad, we let her go. Because they would never approve of that. So if they like staged her death and they carried out just a body and they were like, that's her, then he could still show her, grace, let her go off by herself. And I was like, that's cool. And then I was like, oh no, she's just actually dead, which is just such a weird choice for me. So
maybe she.
I mean, look,
maybe
isn't it kind of both though? I mean, because like, so she's not brought out on the cart, so to speak, because she is dead. But I mean, it's not
they
like
carry her body out of the ship.
Right. But it's not like Crispin changed his mind.
No,
right? I mean,
it's not.
Yeah, I
No,
mean, there was an opportunity for her to have mercy and grace. She just chose not to accept it.
But she didn't. No. Yeah, I'm not saying Crispin's character arc is there, and I think it's even it would just continue that for him to do that, and he did. He gave her that opportunity of just like, I'm going to let you go, which is great for that character arc. I just think as far as like actual writing, it didn't convey what actually happened. Very well.
I think the writing should have been. Because I will say that I did not have the same trip up, but that may be just because of she has a scene where she says, "This is what Marlowe Mercy looks like," and for whatever reason, when she said that, I was like, "Oh, she's going to off herself." And so when all of a sudden she was like under robes, I was just like, "Oh, so she did." But I actually didn't know when that happened. I thought it was just like a cut to black, and then she's like offed herself. So I definitely agree with you. I don't think that the writing was handled. I thought we were supposed to just assume that she had done that without actually having any description of it.
Just the least interesting outcome for it. I feel like it just feels like, well, we can't continue this arc beyond this novella. So, but we need to finish the Crispin arc character wise, but we can't let this lady go because there's too many ramifications of that. So we'll let him show grace. I don't
interpret it that way. I kind of interpret it as just like there's no way she gets off this ship because she doesn't have. There's nothing more to her character arc, right? Like she is like literally hundreds of years past her expiration date for the sole purpose of taking out the Marlowe children, which she now can't accomplish. And then to make it worse, one of the Marlowe children, after faced with that decision, makes the opposite choice of his dad, which is again just one of the great things with Crispin being a foil to Hadrian. To actually spare her rather than just annihilating her on the spot. And so so she's done. Like she's been thoroughly defeated.
Right.
Not only is she not going to be able to kill any Marlowe children, they have now actually learned from the mistakes of their father. So it's like worse for her. And so I predictable, but I don't know that I would say like I wanted something else to happen. I would say.
Yeah, I like building on what Ian is saying. I think that she couldn't live with herself. Like she was only keeping herself alive for this vendetta against the Marlowes, and then when faced with the I guess fruit of what she sought after for so long, she couldn't bring herself to kill. She was not a murderer, and she did not get that chance.
After
she did not take the chance when she had it, and I think and she was reminded of that. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Crispin did was just like, here's your second shot, right? And she couldn't do it. I have to go back. If anybody has the book,
I
and
don't
go
know if
back
I
to that.
remember him saying, "Here, you can kill me," but it was more of like, "Hey, you're done. Like, we win, so this can go one of two ways. Like, I want to let you go. Just call your people down, and we'll let you go. That's it. Not
Oh.
like here's an opportunity. Like, kill me."
Well, no. I thought that was what he bargained for. So the reason why she actually did it, or he gave her like a bargaining chip, right? Like, I'll let you get your chance if you call off your people.
hmm.
I'm pretty sure.
couldn't
I have to
remember.
go.
I thought it
I'll
was
go
like
back
after
and read
all
it.
of her
But it doesn't.
goons
It
were,
doesn't
like,
matter. It
killed
doesn't
and-
matter.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
but the point is,
fact that
I
we're
do
so
agree.
confused
He
is-
learned from his mistake, or from his father's mistakes. He said repeatedly, I am not
yeah.
the Marlowe
Yeah,
family. I'm
it's
just
not, again, it's not the content of what happened. It's more
Right.
of he didn't put that in a way that read to where I understood what the hell happened without having to reread it multiple times and be like, what?
Yeah. Now I'm gonna have to go back.
Yeah, it's very just like
yeah.
it almost is a cut to black, but yeah, I don't know. I took issue with it a little bit, but yeah, as far
Yeah,
as like
yeah.
the character arc of Crispin, it's great. I think that's the strength of the book is him overcoming that and not being his dad, which I think it's accomplished well. Though I take issue on how it's accomplished personally, which I don't want to get. We don't have to get. We're not going to get too deep into the whole religious aspect of it, because we're all over the board, and I think a lot of people that read it are all over the board. I didn't like it personally. I felt like it was very much a self-insertion, and it does worry me for the rest of the series. I hope it doesn't come back. As far as the Catholicism, it just felt very. You could take out the Catholicism part. Nothing about this book changes. They could just be villagers, his people that save him and take care of him. But it's all the Catholicism part that and all that. It just didn't work for me at all. And if I didn't know Christopher Ruocchio was Catholic, I would, after reading this book, I would immediately be like, is he Catholic or something? Because this seems very out of place. So I didn't like it at all personally.
I'm curious as to why you think that. I didn't think that there was that much. I don't know. What are you
The
talking
whole
about?
village, Laurent's entire character arc is just him teaching the ways of Catholicism and how Catholics have always been pushed down, but they overcome because it's not, it's the greater good. And like basically every conversation Laurent has with Crispin is very.
I mean, he's
much
a
that.
priest. Like, it's
I know,
just a
but
priest.
you can take out the. That's what I'm saying. You could take out.
I
the
don't know what you're
Catholicism.
asking at this point. To me, it did not detract from it. I completely understood everything, and I
not saying I didn't
really
understand it.
enjoyed
Yeah.
that especially Crispin. I especially enjoyed Crispin's perspective, and he even, like, as typical Crispin, initially, like, made fun of their religion, which is what you would expect Crispin to do, like some kind of like brash, brazen, like what is it, jab at the religion, something that you would expect Crispin to do. And I thought that was great, and everybody was just silent except Sabine was just like, don't do this.
That's what I'm saying, though. It just
Yeah.
paints Catholicism in such a good light. I don't know. I did not understand it. I just disagreed with his choice to do it. It's a book that takes place 20,000 years later. He's like dunking on Protestants during it, dunking on other religions, saying we're the only religion that made it, and we've always been beat down, but we're going to
Okay.
teach you the correct lesson that changes you as a character. That it just felt so self-inserted for me.
I'm gonna jump in because we had talked about this before I had read it, and then I got to read it. So I will say that I do have a very different take after talking with you and then reading it, because I feel like there were several things that I then encountered in the book that I feel like that hadn't been brought up. So so for example, Crispin mentions that all of the religions made it.
Right.
Basically, I think the only one that Catholicism is essentially just a stand-in for Christianity. There is a dunk on specifically Baptists, which
Oh,
okay,
yeah, okay, it's
Right.
Baptist. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So as a Catholic, just to give you guys some background, okay, as a Catholic from Oklahoma, okay, so like him dunking on Baptists is like it is an inside joke and very
I know,
much a
but that's the
chuckle.
problem I'm taking with
Yeah.
it. I don't want Christopher
no.
Ruocchio's Catholic inside joke. I don't want
Yeah,
that.
I get it.
Reading
So
a
like, but
sci-fi epic.
Oklahoma, there's a lot of like tension between Baptists and Catholics, and so right. I definitely I'm not just arguing with that point, but I will say I did find that a little bit funny. But like all the religions did make it. They're specifically classified as museums, which is for me like the actual world development of this book is specifically around this point, because the idea that all the religions made it as museums is really fascinating. So they're effectively treating like they're essentially the empire is essentially preserving these because they're artifacts from the history of Earth, and so which is the Jesus Earth, right, is their religion. So they're trying to like preserve these things. So in some ways, they're actually going out of their way to make sure these religions stick around, because they want to preserve some of this history. The other thing I thought was really fascinating as far as world development was at the end, the priest talks about the various heresies that they've survived.
Mhm.
One of the last ones he mentions is Marxism, which was 1900s. All of the heresies that are mentioned are heresies that have already occurred in our history.
Mhm.
So this does two things for us. Number one, it tells us that actually this is not some random story. This is like a story projected from our history into the future.
Mhm.
It also tells us that even a religion like Catholicism, they have a gap. Like a museum religion, they have a gap because presumably Earth did not explode in like 2000, right?
Mhm.
So for some reason, because I was thinking about this too after the fact, like we know that Hadrian talked a lot about the Romans and the Greeks.
Mhm.
Like if it's like 21,000, like why is there so much emphasis on like these histories? Like what if it's the case that to blot out all of the technological era, that the Chantry has specifically erased all history from the tech revolution forward? Like what if like 2000, like essentially late 90s all the way forward, like what if all of the history has been blotted out from everywhere? And they're effectively just preserving pieces of Earth's history, but only specifically from like the late 1900s, or like mid 1900s back. Like for
Maybe.
me, that's kind of interesting because it seems like even if it's Catholicism, he can still just make up new heresies or things like
Why
this
is it
to
all?
introduce.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another problem I take.
Yeah.
It's just like they act like they're so everyone's out to get them. Their history has been they've been so repressed. But like the Catholic Church has done some terrible things as well. They're not just the stepped on guys in history, but that's how he writes them. That everything bad's been done to them, and they've overcome. They've overcome. But it's like they've done bad things in our history too. We're choosing to leave that out. One. And two, I think to your second point
Yeah,
of
but
like, I don't think that to me, what I think is actually happening is that Christopher Ruocchio as a human being is very interested. One, he's a huge Catholic, and two, I think he probably loves Roman history and stuff like that, and is just putting that into the book because that's what he likes. I don't think he's saying like, I've got this plan personally, and maybe he writes that in, but I don't think that was the plan. I think he wrote it in because of his knowledge of it and his love for it personally as an author, as a human being.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're adding our own speculation
Sure,
into
yeah,
it
I
as
think.
well.
Yeah, I'm not
Like,
saying it
yeah.
definitely is. That's what it reads like
if
to me.
if he's gonna choose an Earth religion to like preserve, like let's say he comes up with the idea of preserving a religion, like he better choose Catholicism because he's a
Why?
Catholic. It's the only one because it's the only one he can speak authentically to.
But I disagree. I think Stephen King writes religious characters all the time, and he's not religious, and they come off as authentic.
Well, no, right, but like Stephen King's like writing books, not a novella. It's really common for people in novellas to write from what they know, right? And so it's just like it's going to be a lot more authentic if he writes about Catholicism because he understands Catholicism.
But to me,
if he writes
Catholicism
about
isn't necessary for the plot of for Crispin's arc.
Yeah.
In my
No,
opinion.
it isn't necessary for Crispin's arc, but like if he had made that decision as like, oh, I want to have some like preserved piece of history and for it to be a religion, like it
gonna
makes
choose
sense for him
mine.
to choose his own.
Yeah,
because
I
that's
know.
what he can
That's what
speak
I'm saying.
authentically
It
to.
felt very obvious and like a self-insertion of like,
But
I'm going
like-
to do this because me.
Yeah. but I mean, my wife's a writer. Like we spend a lot of time like doing writing workshops together, and like that's one of the things you'll hear all the time. Like for like writing workshops, when people talk about like what do you put in your novellas, they'll say put what you know in your novella because your reader wants to get authenticity.
I know.
They want to learn something.
I
So it's just like
understand that, but that's
it makes sense.
different when we're writing 20,000 years. It'd be like a fantasy. If I was reading a fantasy world,
Mhm.
and they were like, "Whoa, there's this religion, and we call it Catholicism," and it's like, yeah, sure. I don't doubt that you as the author know what Catholicism is. Does it fit in this story? The themes of Catholicism can fit in this story, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. The morals that the Catholic Church teaches, which are what Crispin learns to have his character arc. I think all of that's great. It's just the fact that you can do that with and write what you know without it being such an obvious like self-insertion for me.
Yeah, but I think the head nod is like this is actually our history 20,000 years in the future. I think that's the point. And again, going back to Dune, that actually is like one of the claims of Frank Herbert with Dune is that it's actually our world in the future, which Christopher Ruocchio hadn't confirmed yet, but I think now he has officially confirmed the same idea. It's just our history
But are Catholics
blown
in
into the
Dune?
future. No, but Frank Herbert.
No,
It'd be weird if they were. I think
like,
if they showed up and they're like, "We're the Catholics."
Well, I mean, he has already admitted, Frank Herbert. Sorry, we're getting beside the point, but it was specifically written as an antithesis of the what is it? Is it C.S. Lewis or no Tolkien? He had beef with Tolkien, and Tolkien has a takes a ton of things from the scriptures, the Bible, and stuff, and he kind of wrote the whole Lord of the Rings based off of that, and Frank Herbert wrote Dune as a specific antithesis to that whole thing.
And
so
theming is not my problem.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It'd be like if a Catholic showed up in Dune, it would feel out of place, even if it is real history, even if he is writing as an antithesis to the Lord of the Rings. Catholics aren't in Lord of the Rings either, but their theming and their teachings, right? We know that Tolkien was a huge Catholic, and that it is in the Lord of the Rings, but it's not just on. To me, it would feel the same if Frodo walks to the Shire. They're like, "We're the Catholic hobbits." I'd be like, "Okay."
Well,
like,
it would be weirder. But
right,
like
Tolkien.
for me, it's just no different than like we running into someone and being like, "Oh, they're English," or like, "Oh, they're Chinese," right? Like it's just
right,
no different.
they're Buddhists, or they're like whatever. Like
I know, but
it doesn't.
I know.
But then
the
it's
fact
just
that we
we're
chose
preserving world history.
Catholicism to be the people to course correct Crispin feels a lot on the nose to me. He could have chosen that, and it would have been the same. He could have chosen no religion, and it would have been the same. Normal people can teach those morals as well. A village that are his people that take him in and sacrifice themselves to protect their leader. You don't need Catholicism for that. You don't need Buddhism for it.
They don't care that he's the leader, though. That's
yes,
the point.
they do. That's why they're doing it. They're his leader.
No,
yes,
they're
his
not.
people.
You are missing it. You are missing it.
I don't.
You must have skipped over something because
they didn't do it because he's the leader. That was the whole spiritual aspect of it.
Well, they do it because it's the right thing to do. They would do it for anybody. Yeah. But he is still their leader. Like he is. They are his
I think
people.
that's less important to them than anything.
It is. You're right. That's the whole lesson they're teaching him. It's like it doesn't matter who it is. You stand up for, you do what's right. It doesn't matter who it is.
Right.
And that's what Crispin learns. It's like it doesn't matter that these are just, peasants basically. They are his people, and he needs to stand up for them, which is what he learns.
Muck farmers.
Yeah, but like to me, they could just be that farmers, and nothing about.
Well,
the
that's
story
what they are in
changes.
Crispin's eyes.
Yeah, I don't know. It just felt very on the nose for me, and it rubbed
I think
me
we
the
move
wrong
on
way.
from that.
Yeah,
it
does worry me for the rest of the series, though. I hope that's it. If Catholics continue to show up, I'm gonna be, I'm not gonna enjoy very much unless he shows that to all religions, right? If we get a Buddhist here, or someone else here, and it's actually like, look, there are pieces of this from our history in the world, instead of him just being like, there's one piece of history I'm going to tell you about, and it's my history.
Because he definitely mentions that they're all there.
He mentions that they're all there. He
we're
mentions that the Chantry takes pieces of every religion, and he mentions the pieces that they take from each perspective religion. So are we going to get more information about the other religions? I don't know.
I doubt it.
Does it matter? Probably, like, especially because the Empire, it's the Emperor who it's the emperor who's preserving these religions.
Yeah.
It's all calculated.
if I'm understanding right, there's the emperor power, there's the chantry power, and they're not the same.
Yeah, because
Like
Emperor
the chantry is its
deemed
own
it
thing. It's
allowed.
kind of like a checks and balances thing, but the chantry kind of pretends that the emperor is part of their religion, and even though the emperor probably doesn't see it the same way. So maybe preserving these religions from the home world is in some way trying to balance the chantry's power and saying like, hey, I know what you were born from. All it takes is a word from me to do undermine you. And who knows? Chantry probably has something on the emperor too, which is what I'm excited to read about. I'm excited to read about these political dynamics, and I think this book, learning about these emperor approved museum religions is another aspect that I was excited or I am excited to learn more about, and where does it place specifically in the dynamics of the politics of this world.
I'm excited by the idea of it more than the specifics.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean that wasn't a very it is the key. That is the centerpiece to this story. Is Crispin's character arc, and that is the reason why his character arc happened. So it is important. It's worth. I do feel like it was worth talking about. That's really honestly the most thoughts I have about this. I think the rest of the plot is very, like I said, cookie cutter. As far as I don't know if there's enough to go into it step by step of what happens, because there's not really enough that does happen. Rather, we just talk about specific events if they stood out to us. But
there is one major one that I do want to talk about before we leave.
It.
Yeah, so about the promotion of a plebeian to a serf to the next level, which is not quite Palatine. It's called what I forget what is it? Does anybody remember the specific tier?
I don't remember.
But it basically jumps his lifespan from a normal, not even a century or whatever, to like double it.
Patrician is what.
Yeah, that's it. Patrician. Thank you.
To be like a personal armsman,
right?
To Crispin as well, which is awesome.
And he refuses at the very beginning.
Yeah, which I think is on brand for his character. But I'm glad that he comes around. Or I hope we see more of. Is it? Did they pronounce it Jean Louis? How do they pronounce it in the?
Yeah, okay. you got it.
Yeah, I really liked him. I think other than Crispin, he was probably my favorite character. Just. Or maybe Kyra. Kyra's good too. We need to talk about Kyra as well.
Yeah, we do.
Do we think she's dead? 100%.
Oh, absolutely. I think she is just dust.
Yeah, I do as well.
At this point, it'd be kind of weird if they brought her back. It just seemed like significant. Like it had a significant impact. And also, I think too, like I think it'll matter more as well for Hadrian. Like it would be kind of weird if at some point in the future he ever comes back home or like runs into his family again, which is like, oh, everything is pretty much the way I left it when I left, So I like that it feels like the world's moving forward, like without him. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I really liked Kyra. I'm glad she got developed more before she died. To me, like I even feel like she was maybe like other than like Jean-Louis and maybe Laurent, the most developed character in the book. And I liked her a lot. I also thought I do think Lyra was well written, and like you could, I don't know, like I thought she was a really good character and well written to where you can kind of understand what she, her motivations and everything really quick, and the way she reacts. Other than the very end, what she does. I do kind of get why she does it, but I wish that was just a little more clear. But just an interesting side. They set you up for one thing, and it's something that's still probably ongoing too. I mean, it's going to be a concern.
Right. You figure out that she was literally the reason behind the rebellion in the first place, right? Like, okay. Jeez.
And I couldn't remember in Empire Silence. We know that Alistair basically committed the genocide and killed everyone. But like, did we ever hear how exactly? Because this one tells us like how exactly.
Yeah.
Hadrian told us in Empire of Silence,
Okay.
and then Crispin confirmed the same story. But on the how they told us, I think it's worth mentioning that we've only now heard it twice, and from the sons.
Mm-hmm.
So she didn't tell us what happened. Crispin told us what happened.
But doesn't
All
he
she
tell
confirmed was
her?
that-
Doesn't
yeah.
he confront her that like they started it?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah,
Well,
but
she-
like they made a mistake and we weren't. But Alistair still killed like children and stuff. Like it seemed like she admitted that they were the ones that did
Yep.
start it.
Yeah, and like Alistair had said that they started it. She confirmed that they started it. But in terms of like what happened, because I think that's the like, I don't think that we're going to take this part of the story. Like, I don't think we're going to take this direction. But so far, she believes her entire family is dead. But the only two people other than her, which she was admittedly off-world and frankly couldn't know, the only two people who have actually confirmed the story are Crispin and Hadrian, the sons of Alistair. So in some sense, we don't actually know what happened. We just know what Alistair has said was what happened, which is that he completely evacuated the atmosphere, so they all suffocated.
Yeah, there's got to be
Yeah,
some truth to it, though. I imagine, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't think that there's any kind of misleading there because, he personally isn't the one that removed the windows or and sucked all the atmosphere out. I mean, I'm sure it was the soldiers that were ordered to do that, right? And soldiers, no matter how tight a ship you run, it'll get out, So I'm thinking that definitely happened.
And it's like known in the galaxy too, right? That he
Right.
did that. So it's like if other ones of them escaped, yeah, it probably would have gotten out. I'm guessing, but my guess is like we never revisit this. That's my guess. Like I think this is done. This whole part of that whole like story part is done. Would be my guess.
I do wonder if there's maybe one aspect in which we revisit it. It's very clear that the reason why she felt so strongly is specifically because the 9 children died during that event, and then
Like
that
babies.
was
Well,
right.
yeah,
And
identical baby at least.
so from her perspective, and again, I think that this is kind of important as far as like the Palantines go. Is like there's this sheer arrogance, like so much ambition and arrogance that like even the life of her children doesn't matter. Which again, as far as like foils go, a lot of similarities there between Alistair and her, right? In terms of the way they operate, like she didn't even care that like her son would probably die because she kind of considered him useless, and she was like, hey, look, I should have been able to basically like coup and take over from your family and shove them all out and like take over from like your grandma, and I should have been able to do all of that and like kind of kill anybody I needed to along the way, and the worst consequence should have been that like you just killed a few of my kids, but like my line and everybody else would be fine. And so like the fact that like he brought that hammer down on them, which again is tragic and like, oh my gosh, right? Like that's, I mean, like he really came at them with the fury. But the fact that like there's just so much arrogance and ambition that like this is just so wrong that the damage could have spread beyond just like 1 or 2 people in her family losing their lives. But the other thing is that Alistair only then rises in rank. Like his family then gets reestablished from basically a declining, distant Palatine to now a well-established Palatine, marrying a family that essentially rules that particular piece of the system, to an enterprise that's extremely profitable, and his children are now much closer to the lineage of the emperor than he could ever hope for. So like now his family's only benefited in massive ways from something that should have been by their law a war crime. But no, it was not. Which makes you wonder as well, is like, I mean, like, is the emperor involved in ordering an execution, or is there some other piece of it that like not even the emperor would care that he wiped out an entire house?
That's
'Cause for me that's kind of fascinating.
It is crazy. That's if I had to guess, that's how I view it. Like that's still such small fry to him. It's nothing. Like I think that's someone probably came in. They were like, "Sir, this happened." He was like, "How many?" And they were like, "This many." He's like, "Ah." That's nothing.
Yeah.
That's how I imagine the Emperor is gonna
Mhm.
be, or just just not in tune enough
Mm-hmm.
to
Emperor
care
probably
really.
barely heard it. It's probably
Mm.
more the vicereigns rule, right? So that's why that's
Sure.
why he
Yeah.
has vicereign.
Mm-hmm.
He probably wanted to put his new bathhouse like right where that
There you go.
the house was. So
Well, that's
No, this was his shot. The reason why Alistair is Alistair now is because of this rebellion and crushing
Yeah.
it. And it
Mhm.
was said in this book specifically, and that's what I think, added a lot to the world building. Specifically, you understood more about the ruthless, nature of Alistair, or the ruthless act, I guess. I don't know if he's ruthless in any other of his dealings, really.
Well, that was the
But
event that got the the mother's mother to get them together, right? That was the act that
Yep.
kind of convinced
Yep.
him
Yep.
to marry her daughter
Mhm.
to Alistair, which put him in power. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, but I guess what I'm curious is like, is this the event that calloused him, or had he already been calloused before this event? I guess that's what I want to know. Is like, I want to know how this sort of plays into the story of how Alistair becomes the person he is today, because he seems like a very calloused individual, and also he seems, I mean, pretty like I would say distant from that family,
He seems very
even though he
military,
crushed a
and
rebellion on their behalf. Yeah.
yeah, I'd be interested as well. I don't know if we'll get that
Yeah.
personally, but I mean, we still kept the thread open that there's no reason for us to believe, at least from my memory, that the whole hit job from the Vizarine possibility is still a possibility, right? To take out the Sabine and Hadrian, that it's still something we might need to be concerned about going into future books. Which I think is very interesting of what that means, especially if they succeed, right? And Hadrian's the only one left. Hadrian's technically not a Marlowe anymore, even if he shows back up. He's been written out of the family. So yeah,
yeah,
what
we
that would
don't know
mean.
what the grandmother really wanted, right?
Mm-hmm.
With summoning the children.
Mm-hmm.
So
She is. Do we ever find out how these the Orin Lady Orin or whatever her name is, the lady that's attacking them? How does she
Lyra.
Lyra? How is she how does she know they're on the ship? How is she tracked? Because they made it seem like how would the Viscerine know? It's all these channels and very stealthy. How does she know? If it's hard for the Viscerine to know, how does Lyra know? Who's has no communication with anything? Did we
Forbidden
find that out?
technology is what I would say, because
Okay.
she obviously had um, connections with the what is it, Davrosi,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure the mercenaries, have their ways.
Yeah,
So
that's true. Yeah. Yeah, it was a cool twist, but I did find I was like, wait a minute, that is a cool twist. It's not the Vizarine, but how did we get here? But
androids,
yeah.
crazy.
That was pretty cool, I will
What's that?
say. The Android reveal was cool. I did enjoy that. I thought that was, yeah, it was like, oh yeah, and it felt very, it gave us kind of that real sci-fi feel again, which was
Very
fun.
alien, yeah. Yeah.
Especially since it's exactly very alien, set up to be already forbidden, kind of a surprise. I did like that as a twist.
Yeah, it was good.
But yeah, just kind of going off of that note, I will say that that is one of the things that most impacted my scores. I had mentioned during my sort of bar system that I think the novella did set out to accomplish some goals. I think it developed a character, a character who could now be more important in the future, and I think that's a pretty important goal for a novella if it's being introduced into a series. And so I was really happy for that, especially since it's a character that's notably related and now a foil for Hadrian. Um, I guess there's you can kind of go back and forth on this, but to me the whole thing with the family now, at the end, it just felt to me like a red herring, where it's just I mean, granted, it opens up these lines where it's well, maybe there might be some inner family politics and dynamics that could be kind of interesting, but just after the whole story, I was like, but is it kind of just a red herring? I mean, just to make us think that that's what it was, so it could be something different for this reveal.
I guess could they have planted that seed? Lyra?
Yeah, and that's that. Yeah, that's the thing is I mean, we don't know what's possible, right? You talk about forbidden technology, so it's if it's forbidden technology, I mean, technically Lyra could have been pretending to be the grandma. Because they even said, like, why would she ask for both of them?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she didn't. Maybe Lyra was pretending to be the grandma. It's like, how could she do that?
That's a great point.
Forbidden technology, right? So there is all of that, and so, but I would say that one of the things that kind of impacted my like ratings was just the fact that like the villain is a resurrected character from a like long dead house that again would be kind of a fun twist, but it's just sort of we just pulled all of this out of just a fragment of the past that was presumed dead and then just killed it all in the same book. All in the same novella. So it's like we didn't really, and that was kind of the one of the things I noticed is we didn't really leave a whole lot open after this book. Everything was kind of closed, which in some sense is kind of nice. All the threads are tied. But it just didn't feel like it added anything to the world. I don't think I am walking away from this having learned a whole lot or having a lot of like mystery related to the story. I'm walking away with this with um and satisfaction in how Crispin ended. I think that's kind of the main thing for me.
Yeah, I would agree.
Mhm.
That was kind of like the give and take for me as far as the A. I found the world building in Empire of Silence like excellent, and I found the world building here basically non-existent. I mean, we learned that Chantry takes some pieces from different religions, but I think we already knew that. Like they crucify things and stuff like that. So I think, we know the Chantry is likely not actually believing in their own religion. So I don't think we really gained a lot of world building insight. But to me, I think the most important thing that I took away from the story, other than Crispin's arc, which I do think is important, is that Hadrian is not a reliable narrator, which impacts the entire story going forward of how I'm going to view everything he tells me, because what he told me happened with Crispin and what Crispin told me happened with Crispin are very different things. So now it's like, I was kind of reading Empire of Silence, taking what he said as gospel, right? He's telling his story and that's what I'm listening to. But now I'm like, okay, he's telling, it's like the winners write the history books kind of thing. Like he's writing the history book and everything he says may not be actually how it happened, which I think is really interesting. But yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway for me is like it's going to change almost how I read future
Oh, what was
entries.
different? I might have skipped over that. I didn't really catch that. What was different?
Hadrian kind of
with the
like Crispin really like looks up to Hadrian as like a big brother and really like values him and is in awe of him. But from Hadrian's point of view, he's just like the bully kid brother that wants to take his position as heir. Like they're not friends. He's like a bully to him. That's how I read both sides of it, where Crispin really
I think
like loves
in the
Hadrian.
towards the end of the first book, Hadrian did mention that before he actually got off world, not before the end of the first book. It was like in the middle of it or whatever. Whenever he was helped by his mom, he did mention that Crispin's subject really surprised him, and then he said like, "Hey, was I picturing Crispin's point of view differently? Like, did he really have a different point of view than what he had envisioned Crispin to have?" And he did mention that at least once before he left. But now this was just confirmed, and I really did enjoy hearing Crispin's thoughts during this whole thing and how much he admired Hadrian. And also I liked learning about the plebeians from his brother's point of view, because I think we got a little bit of the plebeian world with everything that happened on what's that world that Hadrian was on?
Delos is
I'm
where they
spacing.
currently are, right?
No, before they left. What was the world or whatever?
With like the Colossa or with the
with the Colosseum.
Myrmidons? Yeah, I can't remember.
I forget. Something with an E.
Imesh.
Imesh, yes, that's it. Imesh. We got a little bit of the plebeian world from Imesh, but I think seeing the world on the home planet, the plebeians on that side of the planet was interesting for me as well. But Josh, we haven't heard from you very much.
Any thoughts? Any standout moments? Anything that makes you anything you're particularly excited about? because of this?
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna get it, but yeah, I don't know that it was Hadrian like painting a picture like on purpose for us to follow, but I think it was rather just his perspective of what was happening. I mean, they were both young at the time. Even though he's supposed to be writing it later on, we're kind of taking, I think we're just taking this like magical point of view that he's writing it as it's happening, kind of is how we're supposed to interpret it. It seems like from our discussion on the first book. So I think it was more just his perspective and then Crispin's perspective. Plus, this is also Crispin, what, 30 plus years later.
Mm-hmm.
So he's also done a lot of maturing. He may not have really looked up to his brother at that point or just thought, you know, he's stupid. He's the older brother. He doesn't know anything. And I feel like maybe it was also just some maturity things that happened where he was like, okay, like I did look up to him. And then other parts of the book that, that I mentioned with like feeling that I really liked was what you guys are touching on with him reflecting on his thoughts and feelings for Hadrian. It was interesting that he thought that he was seeing him at certain times, like inspiring him to get up when his memories are of him to stay down. So that was really interesting. I guess just passage of time and like realizing that he lost something that he actually cared for has made him kind of have that perspective instead. So I found those moments to be really like impactful for me, and like really made me feel something. You guys mentioned the android reveal. I thought that was really cool. Learning that, oh yeah, like just like in our world, people don't follow rules and there's illegal ways to get things and pass them down and use them. Really enjoyed that. I thought a lot of the fighting was really cool. I can't remember, was it when he went out? I'm trying to remember how it all played down, right? He left his buddy. Did he kind of like do like a little sneak around and came back and fought them? I really like that scene a lot. I think that
Blood.
Uh, I think that was the most interesting things about the fighting in this novella is it seems like, if I'm recalling right from what's been shared with us, Crispin's never actually like gone and done any like practical fighting.
Mm-hmm.
So still just like in his bubble, right? Like I think he even mentioned some line in the book, right, about like this isn't his fighting of plebeians or whatever fodder in an arena. He's like doing real fighting. So it was also really interesting to see him like step up and figure it out. Obviously, he's got armor and some unfair advantages to like the typical fighter, but I mean, he fought like assassins and came out on top with his wits and his smarts and his experience. So I found that scene in particular to be really interesting.
We learned some more about some of the weapons too. Of like, there's like the one, it's basically like a gun, but like you don't
Yeah.
see the like laser almost coming out of it, and if you hold it on a shield for X amount of time, eventually the shield will give out. So you can just like hold it on a shield, which I found interesting.
Yeah.
I did kind of
Spears.
forget the spear, the like glaive thing. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. I think, sorry if I'm interrupting you, but before I forget, there was another really interesting part that obviously I'm not like read a ton of sci-fi, but just thinking back like on sci-fi movies and just the little sci-fi that I have read, I don't recall like going into, if I understood it right, I may have understood it wrong, but the ship that Lady Lyra's on, I think it was getting ready to like take off, and he was worried about it just taking off and like destroying the city, if I'm remembering right.
Yep.
So I thought that was like a really interesting. I don't know. That might sound dorky, but I just don't recall like a sci-fi movie or story that I've encountered where it kind of explored like some realism with that being an actual thing to be concerned with.
Yeah.
Basically, the only one like in pop culture is one of the more recent Star Wars films. I think it was number 2 of the most recent 3. I think it was like number 8.
The best one.
Where, I mean, I
Was that what triggered?
I think as far as ones I'd go back to and watch, I think that might be the only one I go back to and watch
I
just
actually
for
do think
the
it's one of
effects.
the better ones. Yeah,
Yeah,
Ryan Johnson
yeah,
is actually. I feel like here's what I'll say.
Ryan Johnson is a curse word in my vernacular.
Okay, but
Yeah.
hear me out. I think it's the best Star Wars movie of the trilogy if we're taking like canon out of the equation. Like it's the most beautiful looking and like well directed. Maybe not the best. We can take the script out of it. Like as far as sitting and watching it, I think it's got a lot of really beautiful shots, minus the Rose storyline. That sucks. But like, man, it's really like the Red Room scene is awesome. The Red Room. How can you hate that scene though? Like to me,
Some of the worst choreography ever.
No, it's not.
If you go
Oh,
back
this
and
is
watch
great.
parts,
But that's like saying the choreography in episode 4 is terrible because like the stormtroopers are like running into, this is before all of the
But
meta
it's
stuff
it's
has
already
happened.
canon that all stormtroopers are drunk on the job.
Yeah,
Okay,
now it
they
is.
can't hit the broadside of a barn.
Yeah.
Wait, real quick,
Like, it's canon.
what scene in episode 8? I don't remember. Is
So
is that the shooting?
This cannot
Like the
be a
taking off
spoiler.
part?
Yeah, the taking off part
Okay,
because
okay,
this
okay.
can't be a spoiler trigger. You should have already anybody who's the spoiled that for should have already watched the movie. But yeah, but the death
didn't get
scene
too
where he
specific
points and takes off, that is at least in my recollection for pop culture, that is one of the least explored aspects of like sci-fi is the actual travel where they actually like so they specifically go into like the danger of
Yeah.
making a jump like that so close to other vessels, right? And it's the same kind of idea is you're basically just impacting it at a massive speed. And so what they're talking about here in this book was the idea that essentially the same thing would happen, where just imagine that you essentially broke like every Mach barrier simultaneously. You would effectively erupt a piece of the atmosphere, and just the sheer break of the sound barrier at that degree would cause a concussive blast that would just turn you to jelly. It's actually there's like okay, I know I'm going off the deep end, but there's like a funny thing that people have explored where like if you throw a bomb into a pool, like should you be in the pool?
Mm.
And the answer is no. It'll actually kill you because the concussive force will collapse your lungs if you're in the water. So you either want to be in the water and it out of the water, or you want it in the water and you out of the water, but not both. But it can't be the same. It was kind of fascinating. It's kind of counterintuitive. It's like, but it's in the water. It's like, yeah, but there's concussion.
Yeah,
so
is it? I mean, like if someone threw a bomb in a pool, I wouldn't jump towards the bomb.
well, you wouldn't.
I guess I
but
would.
you know, there's
I would go
there's
the
a
opposite.
thing
the other
called
way.
an action film.
Yeah.
So
Go towards the bomb, everybody, towards the bomb. It's the safest spot. It's like, yeah. Okay, all right.
And just so
Anyway,
everyone knows, really
yeah.
quick, Matt and I have talked about episode 8 before, so I'm just being a little overly dramatic just because we've had fun conversations about it. I didn't mean to make anyone feel uncomfortable. I was just being silly.
It's like
No,
the
I
most
like it.
controversial. I feel like it's the
And not
movie
just-
that like Star Wars fans hate, and if you're not a Star Wars fan, which I'm not, I mean, I think it's okay. Usually, that's like the big divide. If you love Star Wars, you hate Episode 8. If you're like, then I think you can appreciate it for what it is. But I get why. I understand why Star Wars fans hate it because the actual script and what is canon and what is not, and how they just decide to be like, I'm gonna do what I want because I'm Ryan Johnson. I can see how that's
I'm
annoying.
glad that you clarified because I would have spent the night thinking that you and Matt just talk about jumping into a pool with explosives in it, and I would have been very concerned.
What would you do? Go towards the bomb or away from the bomb?
No, we'd be staying up watching Mythbusters is what we'd be doing.
Okay, yeah. Any other? I think we kind of mostly touched on everything. We didn't touch on the convenient supplies that they use to fight, which I found a little convenient, but whatever. I'm okay with looking over that. But
I do have a question.
Yeah.
I know Matt is very passionate about whether religions or Catholicism would survive 20,000 years. I wanted to know, do we think chickens would survive 20,000 years on a different planet out in the galaxy? That was crazy to me.
Aren't chickens like one of the most closest to dinosaurs? Those.
I'm not really being that serious, but it did make me go, would chickens
Yeah.
still be around?
Yeah, I wonder. Or if they, I think at a certain point, probably they could just like make them.
Yeah, they're just, chickens are just that amazing of a food source that they're still around. They're still kicking.
Still around.
Chickens are still kicking.
Chickens are still
Which is good because it's
kicking.
like the only thing that kids will eat. So without that, I mean, the whole population of children just starve. So
Yeah.
I have one more question before we go, unless anyone has anything after that. If right now, like it could go exactly your way, would you rather, for the next book for Howling Dark, it be obviously we know it's going back to Hadrian, but like it could still be Hadrian and some of the stuff we focused on in this novella setting up for it. Like, would you rather dive deeper into Hadrian meeting back up with Crispin and what everything that happened in this book means for the relationship between them, and not only them but their father, because their father's going to hear about this, right? And like, what does that mean? What's Sabine's role in this? Because Sabine's a lot more like the father than Crispin, or so so Crispin says. Or are you more interested in just going back to Hadrian's storyline where we are escorting the Cielsen refugees or captives or whatnot to what are they trying to do? Just deliver
Treasure
them and
Island.
find peace to
They're going to the
Treasure
extra
Island.
Solarians. Yeah.
Oh
They're
yeah,
going
they're
to
bringing to the extra Solarians. Yeah.
Because they want to find Treasure Island so they can find the Quiet. And
Yep.
If you could
So the
have it your
question
way,
is, what do we rather
what are you more excited?
explore?
Yeah,
Hadrian and Crispin further, or just Hadrian's new journey?
and the father I think is an important, like, what does that mean for the Marlowe family on Delos? Like,
Yeah.
what just happened? Because they're also tied to the Vizarine, which is tied to the Emperor, and
Yeah. I personally would find that much more fascinating to know what the consequences are of this event, of Crispin, if he's going to be told about Hadrian, and then, yeah, the dad's reaction. Because I think that was one of the takeaways I took was, is Crispin going to be honest? Is it going to be able to be contained of what actually happened? Is he going to tell his dad? Is he going to leave out stuff? Like, and then, like, what are the consequences of his dad finding out that, because it's our understanding, right, still, that Crispin's supposed to be the one to take over for his dad. And I feel like if his dad found this out, he'd be like, absolutely not, and would probably try to find some way to ship off Crispin as well.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm way more interested in the consequences of what this novella set up than what Empire of Silence did, personally.
I think that's more family dynamics, and I do think that that's interesting. However, in as far as like a world perspective, I think that Hadrian's current journey matters a lot more to the and affects the world a lot more than their family dynamics. Because learning more about the family dynamics isn't going to change their current world setting, whereas learning more about what Hadrian is about to accomplish or is attempting to accomplish could change the power dynamics in the universe.
Sure.
With the Chantry and everything like that. So I think as far as a world perspective, that is like the bigger carrot in my eyes. I do really like the family dynamics though, and I do want to learn more about it. And I think it's a lot, uh, I enjoyed this book so much that I too am dreading going back to the first person narrative. But other than that, I think I am a little bit more interested in seeing Hadrian.
Yeah, the actual yeah. I agree. I guess the way I would put it is more like I would be excited to see, because right there the Marlowe family carries a lot of weight now, as far as like with the Emperor, really, or it could go up to that. Seeing how, you don't think so?
No, he is small fry comparatively.
But it could go
The
up just because of their relations. Like it depending on what happens here, right? Let's say Crispin takes over and works with the mother to move their influence up closer to the Emperor. Maybe that's how we as readers get more information about the Emperor.
The mother has barely any power though, and it's actually it's her sister that is coming into power. It's the aunt, the vice reign, who they do not have any relationship with. So if anything from this book and the consequences of it, they're actually decreasing in the amount of political power that they have, with the grandmother dying.
Well then, can't wait for Howling Dark.
I mean, Ian, do you disagree or agree?
No, I think you're right. I think
my,
you're right.
yeah. No, I think you're spot on. My answer was going to be yes, That was gonna be my answer.
Either way, yeah, it had to be
Both.
either way.
Both.
No,
Yeah.
I think I would actually enjoy the story a lot more if we get to take breaks from Hadrian's story to continue Crispin's story. I would like to actually see both get developed in parallel. I mean, granted, this will be book 2, so I would be fine with them being developed in parallel for a later reunion, like in a book 3 or a book 4. But I think that it would be very interesting because I agree with Los, and I think that's actually one of the reasons why Crispin's story could get really interesting, because then we can find out what Alistair was planning, why he wanted to send Hadrian to the Chantry. We can see how Crispin responds to the revelation. The more we find about Alistair, the more it helps us to better understand Hadrian's journey, because ultimately I think that he is falling into a lot of the same mistakes, let's say, that his dad did, or he's at least following the same character as his father. And so it'll be cool to better understand how that's happening and how he ultimately decides not to be his dad if that occurs. And again, if Crispin, I mean, it seems like Crispin's being set up as a foil, so I'd like that to continue. But I'd really like both of them to be done in parallel. I don't know that's ever going to happen, or if it's like a novella book thing or what, but I would like
Jumping
to
from
see it.
first
And like
person
to,
to third person in the same book would be tough.
yeah, I think
It'd be tough to
it would
read.
need to be third person all the way through with interjections of the frame narrative.
Right.
Like
Right.
I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think if there was a way to get out of the frame narrative, I think you slowly ease us into having the framed perspective only at the beginning of chapters, specifically those that start with Adrian.
Yeah.
I think that's what you would, and then it would be more okay to be bouncing across different POVs. So, but yeah, anyway.
I think Red Rising, from my understanding, is that like the first 3 books are first person, and then it goes to like a third person POV jumping, like just right in the middle of the series. So it definitely can be done. It's probably a little jarring. I'm sure some people fall off, and some people are like, "Yes, finally." But I don't know if this does that. I'm assuming that in all future novellas, and there's also the short story collections. I would guess all of those are probably third person, and that the main series probably sticks with the frame narrative for its entirety. But I would love to be pleasantly surprised and be wrong.
I want a fourth person POV Dunkirk like experience from here on forward.
I want to smell it. Yeah, I want to smell what they smell. I want to taste what they taste. That'd be the real deal.
Oh my gosh. Some of the scenes maybe not so much, some of the scenes maybe not so much.
All right. Any other final thoughts before we wrap up?
I don't think so.
Cool.
Nope. Yeah. I guess one thing, because we did bring this up in the original BARF, was I had just read several people who said that they read Empire of Silence because they were told it gets better later in the series, and then they didn't like it as much, and so then they were like, oh, but the novella is better, so read the novella. And then they read it and they're like, I still don't know if this is really what I thought it was going to be. So I was trying to think about that after I finished, and I I just don't know that. I think there's a lot of improvement here in terms of his writing, but I don't know if this is like gonna help you fall in love with the world. Like
No,
if
it
you read
definitely
Empire of
won't.
Silence and you're like, if you read Empire of Silence, you're like, this is not for me. Like I don't like this style of sci-fi, or I don't really like what's happening with Adrian. Like I don't know.
Well, I
How,
think what this one
if this.
shows, for me, it was like
Mm,
this and Empire of Silence almost like complete each other. I think almost everything that was lacking in Empire of Silence, this excelled at. But then the things that this was lacking, I think Empire of Silence excelled at. And this one really taught me like, oh, we could really get some great character work in this series, because I think Crispin's so well written that I think that that's there. I agree. It's not going to change your mind of like, now I'm interested in sci-fi, but like if you're a character driven reader, which I am, and you found Hadrian to be a little lacking and the side characters basically non-existent in the first book, like I think this proves that like it can get there, and that there's like the promise of like a marriage of the two books in future books to me. But I
That's
agree.
what I'm hoping.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. I hope that like I know Howling Dark, or actually I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Howling Dark was written before this. but not. I'm guessing not too far before to where I imagine. I actually found his prose worse in this personally.
Yep.
But his writing better. Yeah, I don't know. Just like the actual sentences and stuff were less good in my opinion. We're more bad like for getting into the deep.
Well, I think
beautiful
Josh
purple
touched on it
prose.
to me. To me, I just chalked that up to the third person narrative being from Crispin. Kind of. I kind of
Yeah.
like saw it from that perspective, even though it's not really third person. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I do too. I don't think it's bad by any means, but I do think like there were sentences I'd read in Empire of Silence where I was like, wow, that's a great sentence. And that I didn't find that here as much, but yeah, I like the idea that it's maybe because it's from Crispin, who is not as language focused as Hadrian, which makes sense. But so yeah, all right, we did it. We finished the
Yay.
novella, so we're moving on to Howling Dark. I think like we said, we're all gonna kind of decide after everyone if we want to. Thumbs up for me. I'm interested to continue for sure. So
Yeah, I'm
It's
definitely enjoying it.
unanimous. It's unanimous, especially after this one. It's really
Yep, it showed a lot of promise. So I think we are going to change our formatting going forward. We're going to try with Howling Dark, just split it down the middle and try 2 parts. Possibly with a BARF review at the end. We'll kind of decide on that. But instead of doing 4 parts, we're going to do 2 parts. And yeah, you can probably count on the first one being sometime the end of January, maybe early February.
Yeah, I think that's what we're aiming
something
for.
like that. So sweet. Well, until then, I'm Matt. We'll go clockwise. Yeah.
Okay.
Josh.
I mean,
Dang it.
I'm Lowe's,
All
and
right.
we are never gonna get this
We're
right.
never gonna get it right. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
goodbye.